Always a great chat with our dear friends, Ross Cadell, of course, the Senator from New South Wales, representing the Nats. Are they in? Are they out? Yes, we'll have to ask a question in a moment or two's time. Joe Hildebrand.
Good evening.
Of course, representing...
Am I in? Am I out? I don't know.
He's always here. Now, Ross, don't ask me how in February we're finally getting your Christmas gifts, but they were very kindly, and I got them today, and I passed them on to Joe just
Ross.
then. But I wanted
it's all
to give...
his fault.
How good is this? Ross gave us a Cadell's Cloud Juice Catcher, all right? So if you've ever wanted it, you now have your very own...
Thank you very much.
Your very own...
I'm going to treasure this always.
Rain gauge. There you go, mate. Enjoy yourself.
It's fantastic. I can have this while chewing on my Christmas Cadellies as well.
All right. Now, call his office. You pay full price. All right. Now, Ross, I've got to ask. This time last week, I'm pretty sure I heard you say that you understood one of the things potentially of the coalition getting back together was that yourself and the ministers who, shadow ministers who decided to vote against the shadow cabinet, but with your party colleagues, were willing to spend some time on the sidelines. But we now hear that that's the whole reason why they're not getting back together. So what's going on here?
Don't know. Look, this is when we get there.
Most honest politician answer ever.
The Nats are taking a view that it's all of us. All of us were prepared to cross, all of us in the entire room, every front bencher. So that was clear from the one. It's one out, all out, our Solidarity brothers. And I just don't think that's liked by where Susan and the Liberal leadership is. Everyone is where, like I said last week, is where we thought we'd be. We knew the potential consequences of what we were doing, but equally Susan and the Liberals knew that if we were gone, we were all gone, because that was the letter that was put to them. Everyone's made their own decisions. We've ended up where we are. If there's a way to get back together, if there's a way to make this work, but what our party room doesn't want to see, they don't want to see the three senators that actually voted wear the price for the whole party when everyone was prepared to. And but for a timing indifference, if it went to the lower house a little bit later than it did, the lower house guys would have crossed it, or had there been a single amendment that got up, all the lower house guys the next day would have voted the same way as us. So what our room is saying is you can't single out the three guys for a decision of the whole room. It has to be something done collectively, and we'll see where that goes. There's been 3 different deadlines today on when a decision was going to be made. I wish you didn't have to talk about the coalition for the second half of your program either, but here we are.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, only because, again, where it stands and how close or whether or not, my guess, and that's all I can do right now, because obviously I'm not in any room here, they're breaking up for at least a year. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I just still find it so staggering to the point of disbelief to watch. It reminds me, I said yesterday, it was like, the old cliche of shuffling your deck chairs on the Titanic. It's actually more like, I realised, when Wile E. Coyote has a giant boulder hurtling from a cliff onto his head and he puts up one of those tiny little umbrellas. Like the idea that they're arguing, that Susan Lee's arguing over, is it 6 months out of the shadow cabinet, or is it, is it next week? Like, who cares? But also, it does not matter that you've got an existential threat hurtling towards you like One Nation and Barnaby Joyce, and you're sitting there arguing over, as John Howard said, this nitpicking over minutiae.
Well, again, Ross, you may respond to my observation if you wish, but or we move on. But my belief is...
Ross is exempt from all my criticism.
Yeah, of course. Ross is great. Is that, again, I understand everyone's got their principle here, but at some point either principle or pride needs to bend. Now, I get how this works, where it feels like whatever the resolution, it's not satisfactory to each half of the negotiation. So why not just say, OK, we'll see you in a year? I mean, it's already played out on the floor of the parliament. People can see it all there. Yes, there'll be alternative shadows and shadow spokespersons and all the rest of it, but effectively it's where everyone is here. Why not just say, OK, we'll see you in 12 months, regardless of whether it's Susan Lee or anyone else, because we all know what's happening on Newspoll on Monday. We know there'll be people in the Liberal Party that'll want to use that as the justification for what they wanted to do months ago. So, again, why not just say, OK, cool, let's take this out of everyone's hands and we'll see you in a year. There is no election for 12 months.
Yep, I think you're exactly right. I think it's fast heading towards that. Let's not pretend someone's weeing on your head and it's raining.
I love that.
There is more likely to agree a separation. Yeah, that's right. More likely to agree a separation and how that works than coming back together quickly. I think that's, if I was a punting man, I'd put it there. I just think we've just got to get back to what we do. I'm sick. You're sick and tired of this going on. We're sick and tired of it's going on. Really pleased that the Nats got there today and this week tried to change the excise tax on spirits as well as beer, going through and have a review in the whole thing. Talking to Matt about getting back on Matt Canavan out there, really trying to pursue some things on economic and taxation. We're trying to move forward, but with this going on, it's just not there. It has to be settled. It can't go on next week. 3 deadlines today. We'll see if a deadline happens tomorrow or on Sunday, but one way, get it sorted.
Now, Joe, this, of course, all is great fodder for many. I did enjoy that you were able to write a complete fantasy about this. So rather than an opinion on anything going on, you just made up a diary.
I did.
Barnaby Joyce on his way to Prime Ministership.
I did.
What does the editor say when that's what you're about to?
That was the editor's idea. No, it was. I often like to just inhabit the minds of. I've mind read the Prime Ministerial dog Toto and presented some insights from her as well. But the headline that got me, so I'm a subscriber to the Daily Telegraph, obviously, out of my own hard-earned, and landing in my inbox was this incredible headline that just said, "Could Barnaby Joyce be One Nation's first PM?" And I'm like, praise Jesus, I hope so, because that would just be the best fun ever. And that was the headline on the story as well. It was sat down with a big interview with the Sunday Telly. And
where he did just ever so slightly leave the door open, maybe
tiny
running again in the lower house. And to be fair,
right.
if they're going to be running at 30%, they're going to need a pretty big face to be the front of it.
He can't be Prime Minister from the Senate, can he? So again, I had to basically get my head around how that would actually work. How would it work with Pauline as the leader of the party, but Barnaby as the first Prime Minister? I mean, wouldn't Pauline have something to say about that maybe? And then how you actually get there, how you get the seats. And so I was just having a bit of fun with it. But like some of the things I put in the diary. So this is a diary I exhumed from the future after Barnaby had already
made it up.
That's right. I got this diary in 2028 after the 2028 federal election, and then sort of
retrofit. How much are power prices in 2028?
They're pretty hot. I had inflation at double digits, so it tells you all you need to know. But one of the things that one of the dates I had was April the 1st. 2025 as the final autumn sitting day, and that's when Angus Taylor would roll Susan Lee. And lo and behold, the next day I read in the newspaper that that's actually the date that they're considering.
All right.
And so if you want any proof that this farce is really actually stranger than farce, stranger than satire, more
as always, a good reason to be subscribing to the Daily Telegraph, and all of the services are available to you. Now, a couple of things before we get to anything that's been big news. What about a sneaky little job that's come through from the airport lobby? Now, of course, you know that many of the airports that we, of course, built with taxpayer money, we sold off as a way of balancing out budgets and getting ever so slight surpluses towards the back end of the Howard years. Of course, they were sold off, and previously Macquarie Bank, all the rest of it. Well, the Airport Association has turned around and said that we should have a passenger tax. Why? Well, to help fund getting people through border crossings faster. Now, my simple response to all of this, Ross, is perhaps they could take some of the money, the millions of dollars that are made in parking fares by these private companies that own these airports, and if they want to improve their facilities, that's how you pay for it. I don't want to be taxed on top of the tax that I pay, well, obviously to the government, but then to the private company for the privilege of going to an airport.
I read the same article and I was amazed. We are already taxed. I didn't know how much departure tax or incoming tax was there. But the thing, government stats was what got me, how they say it's 72 seconds normally to get through immigration, except the time you wait in line and accept anyone that takes more than 3 minutes because we don't count that. That skews the figures. What a great way of doing things. That means I am the best-looking man in my bed most nights. This is just an amazing way of doing things. But everyone should pay, for all of these different things except the business. But if you're going through and you're already getting taxed and the government isn't getting enough to get you through quicker and efficiently, I was in Singapore airport when taking little Leo, I think he was about 8 years old, when we were waiting in line so long, he just took off and he mulled a gate. We almost had the airport shut down because he ran through security. If I don't have to wait in line, that's a bit better. And if the government wants to give more of the tax to improve their facilities there, I'm okay. But yeah, if I'm not going to let billion-dollar places tell me they're crying poor. No,
it's very weird. All right, Bunnings is deciding to go and have got full approval now for the facial recognition technology. Now, their claim, and this is reasonable as a justification, which is When somebody comes into the store, steals something, they're able to match up the faces, or somebody abuses a member of staff, something like that. But facial recognition when you go to Bunnings, mate. This is a little creepy for me.
It's a little bit creepy. It's probably also just a little bit inevitable. It's going to be happening everywhere. I mean, we've had the debate about CCTV in the past, and the truth is this is how cops catch crooks, and I think that's a good thing. I think if you're worried about your privacy or people getting into you, they're getting into you via your phone. Like if you're worried,
you have a tracking device in your pocket.
That's right. So if you are worried about your privacy, don't worry about your trip to Bunnings. Take this, smash it on a rock and flush it down the toilet.
Well, if it becomes standard, I don't know whether the facial recognition at Club X is going to be something that people will be happy to have.
Everybody knows that I'm there already.
Yeah, all right.
So,
well, Ross is only laughing at that because he's aware that Fishwick exists.
And you just got to duck the chairs when they're thrown at you. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, correct. All right, lads, do appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll see you again next week. Enjoy your presents. I certainly have already made my way through the candies.